from doubter to believer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the LFC Couch. My name is Nish, your host. As always, I hope you had fun listening to Pete and Nick spit the shit yesterday on the post-Manchester City pod. But we've got even more special guests coming their way, and I seem to be the one lumped in with doing all the special pods, so apologies to the rest of the guys getting jealous on the couch. But I have Mr. Liam Stapleton from Nova 919 Adelaide. How are you, my friend?
Mate, I'm good. I mean, when you say special guest, it feels like it's going to be like Suarez is on or something like that. You know what I mean? And everyone's going to be like, oh my God. Just a guy who likes Liverpool.
Hey, look, I looked you up and I was like, you've got a Wikipedia. To me, that's a special guest. However,
it's a very blank Wikipedia, though.
Yeah, one thing I want to call out. I've never seen a Wikipedia where the birth date is like 95, maybe 96.
Yeah, I know, right? I was just about to point that out. I'm like, why is no one like? Surely even the most basic of Wikipedias has people's date of birth. Like that's on the license. That's everywhere. That's
you can find on Facebook page.
It's 96, 30th of June 96. Yeah, it's on my Facebook page. It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think that people just sort of vibe it out. But then I think I maybe look older than I am. Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I'm 14 years older than you.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah,
there you go.
I think people are just shocked when I'm not like in my 30s, just because I don't think it's like a George Clooney mature looking sort of thing. It's just a bit like, oh, geez, you've weathered. Like I even like pull some grey hairs out sometimes. I'm like, seriously, I'm not even 25 yet. Like, chill out.
Well, I was just thinking about your job. Like, for instance, for people who don't know, you do the morning show at Adelaide. It's like the big ticket item when it comes to radio. It's the morning show. Your job is to make people happy every morning, no matter how shit you probably feel on the inside.
Yeah,
and you must be getting up at ridiculous hours of the morning, like normal Liverpool fans. But then you're straight into work.
Well, the cruel thing is I can rarely watch games because if you'd imagine if you have to wake up for work at 4 and you've got to start at 5. And that's when you're sort of on air. That's like most of the good games end up falling on a Monday or a Tuesday, like in the morning. I mean, even this week it was a little bit earlier, so I could watch a little bit more of the City game. But yeah, I mean, I rub my hands together when we get like a Merseyside derby for Adelaide. It was 11:30 on a Saturday, which is like primo. Like it doesn't get much better than that. So I don't even know what time that actually is in the UK. I've never like stopped to check what day and time that works out being for them, but. Yeah, it's once in a blue moon that sort of ends up happening. But yeah, I love the gig. I used to live in Sydney for 3 years as well. So that's sort of how I got onto LFC New South Wales and stuff. And I only went to a couple of games at the bar there. But yeah, I wish I went to more now. And that's one of the things I regret. And I know there's a supporters club here as well, and they watch games at the Arca Bar, which is a pretty wicked spot. I don't know if you've caught a game.
Up in there,
yeah. But couple of big screens. So I think, when the time's right, I might have to head down to the Arca Bar a bit more, I reckon.
Yeah, I know a lot of amazing Reds down South Australia. I know, obviously, Matt Selby's now the chairman of LFC Adelaide, South Australia. So he's there. He was quite instrumental in helping Liverpool get to Australia in the first place. So
yeah, well, of course, the Adelaide United game. Yeah. Kind of wild. I think, like, sometimes I've seen Liverpool play 3 times, but I kind of forget about the Sydney one sometimes. Because I saw a game at Anfield in 2010. It was against Villa, and yeah. Oh man, it wasn't. But I mean, it was going back. Like Ryan Babel scored and did a backflip. That's how far back we're going. So it was pretty wicked. And I mean, Gerrard was injured at the time, so I remember he kind of walked around the boundary and he was wearing a suit, and I was like, oh my god. But and the Adelaide one was kind of massive because it was just like, it's something in your wildest dreams, like Liverpool playing at Adelaide Oval. Like it doesn't sort of. It's almost like a game that you'd set up on FIFA, and you would just get, Adelaide United would get caned by FIFA by Liverpool. But then there was the Sydney one as well. I went to has there been 2 in Sydney now?
A Legends game and the full team game.
Of course, yeah. I went to the full team game. Wish I went to the Legends one though. That would have been wild. And I missed the Melbourne one, which is a big regret of mine because I still feel like that could be, and maybe it's just because of my algorithm and I'm in Australia, but I still feel like that could be one of the most watched You'll Never Walk Alones out there. The 100,000 strong crowd belting it out, and that was the first time in my lifetime I feel that Liverpool were here, as much as I can remember anyway. You might be able to correct me on that one, but I feel like that was like the first one in the last 20 or so years. It was like, wow, they're here. It's crazy.
It was the first time ever they came to Australia, and It
was the first time ever, right?
Yeah, I've been very privileged to see every single game in every part of Australia. So I travelled. Wow. I followed the club the whole way through, and MCG was special, man. It was something else. The whole lead up. I was there for the week before the game, and a lot of people were too. So I spent a whole week there, and it was nuts the whole time.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy. I remember seeing some footage. I think it was just on like LFC TV. And then I ended up watching the game as well because the squad got in a little bit early and they went to see a Port Adelaide game, like in the AFL. And like Jordan Henderson walking around and no one gave a rat's ass. Like, no one's like, oh, what's this? Like, pommy shit? Like, no one was really. And I was like, I remember looking at the footage and being like, oh my God. That sucks. Like, I feel like that'd be like your best opportunity to get up close and personal, like, get a photo or something or talk to them. But it's just, obviously a bit of a different sport. But then there was lots of little things they did around, like, I think it was Lalana who was like out playing indoor cricket somewhere.
I was with him.
Oh, you were? Oh, really?
And I've got loads of photos. It was Lalana, Klein and Milner. I was with him. I was doing a bit of photography at the time. So. Oh
wow! What? Yeah. So you worked for Liverpool, or you?
I was just doing a bit of contract work. So very.
How did you manage that?
When you know people, you know people.
That is awesome.
I know. We held wallabies and stuff like that. I did a lot of sideline work for the club. So just small things here and there. So.
Yeah,
it was nuts. Yeah, it was such a good time. And Milner's a really bloody good cricketer because he played for Yorkshire as a schoolboy.
Yeah, well, he's like, and isn't he like almost a pro golfer as well? He's just like everything he applies his mind to. He's just obviously, there's that whole boring Jameson Winner thing, but he just seems like the sweetest man alive. But like he just really applies himself, and also like he doesn't look like he's going to slow down anytime soon because people talk about they just they look after their body and stuff. I don't know if he doesn't drink or something like that, but he seems like
he's never touched alcohol.
It's crazy, like, and I mean, he kind of looks like he never has because you can see like the veins in his forearms. Like, walking around, you're like, man, this guy's a beast. Like,
he's got more muscles in his chin than I do in my entire body.
Sure. Yeah, and they were really prominent when he scored that penalty against Leicester.
Yeah,
and he was just standing there, and you're like, oh wow, what a man!
That's crazy. Can I go back to your? You must have been 14 years old watching Liverpool at Anfield. So how the hell did you get into? You're Adelaide born and bred, right? So how did you get into the club?
Well, my dad's from Coventry, and they're not the most fun team to support. So there's no like sort of cool backstory where you're like, well, Ian Rush is my dad. Something like there's no really cool backstory. It was just, I think it was around, that Champions League win in the 2005, which I'm sure would have brought a lot of new fans on board. But I was quite young at the time, and I was playing, and a lot of my friends supported Manchester United, and I wasn't wild on them. So I just I really picked a team myself, and then Dad's kind of jumped on board, and Dad supports Liverpool with me now as well, purely because it is pretty hard to watch any teams in sort of lower leagues. Like even 10 years ago, it wasn't the easiest thing to watch the top four clubs play in the Premier League because we didn't have Foxtel and stuff, and I'd I'd be like always trying to angle sleepovers at mates who had Foxtel and like watch some of the games. But it's funny how you sort of like some people like sort of choose their colours, I suppose, and then you just sort of once you're stuck to it, and it just so happens like that at the moment, it's a really, really good team to be supporting, I suppose. Like, but there's definitely some trickier years there, and obviously sometimes you're just like, so painfully close. But I also remember one of my favourite games at a younger age was when we got into the Champions League final in 2007. Remember the Chelsea game?
AC Milan. Oh, the one.
Yeah, before. But the game. The game that was more fun than the one that we eventually lost. But I remember I was watching that on like SBS before school, and that was also easier to watch Liverpool in the Champions League because most of the time they were playing games before school and SBS, so you could watch it. So that's kind of how it all started. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Like, I've told my story a million times this pod. Like, we're 400, 500 episodes deep now, but like, I was born in Cambridge. My brothers were born in Liverpool, so I was like, I'm not supporting Cambridge United. So, it can't happen. Not going to happen.
Older or younger?
2 older brothers. So
right. So they were already on the bandwagon.
Yeah, my dad moved to Liverpool in '75 because he's a Liverpool fan. So,
okay. Yeah.
So, and then had his first two boys there. So I was like, I had no choice, but happy with it. It's fine.
Did anyone rebel and do the Everton thing at all?
No. No. We moved out when we were still quite young. So no one really had a choice to change. But it was always match of the day through the 80s, all the 3 brothers getting around and the dad and watching match of the day and singing the theme tune and stuff like that. So, but similar to you, like, I had my high school years, and my second last year of high school was the 1999 treble, and my PE teacher in school, and this is in New Zealand, he was a huge Man United fan, and he forced all of us to sit around and watch Man United beat Bayern Munich in the 1999 Champions League, and I was just like fuming, going, I was so happy when they were losing, and then Solskjaer scores that last minute goal. I was like, that's the shit, no matter.
That's going to be the argument to the end of time. The Istanbul game, or the Bayern Munich and Manchester United game. And I mean, they're both great in their own right, but 3-0 down at halftime.
Exactly. One made me angry, one made me happy. I'll stick with the happy one.
Yeah. But does anything compare to the semi-final last year?
Holy shit.
I still think that's probably the best game I've ever seen. Maybe I'm biased, but also like, you couldn't, like, I also love how, I mean, all Liverpool fans are the same, but when you sort of take yourself back to before that game, like, as much as you want to believe and stuff, I mean, like, City had won that game, and it was pretty much like, well, we're, potentially probably not gonna win the league. And when you that sort of deficit going into that game, going, oh my God, like, we could have come this far and then, just be basically runners up, like, and which at the end of the day, like, it's kind of like, well, you're not in the history books, are you? Unless you sort of take it out or, win it all. So I can't express the emotion, like, just watching that being like, this isn't real. And I feel like once that first goal went in, like, and we were away, it was like, man, we could be on here. And of course, like, Salah not playing as well.
Shaqiri, Origi, Genie, an angry Genie coming on at halftime.
2 goals,
Robertson getting injured. Oh my God, it was just all bad news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just like, couldn't have gone any worse in the lead up, really. But I think Klopp said something quite powerful. I mean, all managers sort of do before a big game like that anyway. But he said something about like, win, lose or draw, they'll just play their best. Something simple like that, or they'll just play for the love of it or something like that. And I feel like it makes it more powerful when they've gone on to win the game 4-0. But I still think about that a lot, and I'm like, like, isn't that crazy how they could have even scored 3 and that still wouldn't have been enough. But it was just the perfect number, wasn't it? Like 4. It was just very tough stuff.
Oh, no. And just history making Reds all the way through. And now we're in a position where any draw feels like a loss.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, the City thing was kind of like, damn. Like, and especially, I don't know about you, but I was reading a lot of articles, they were kind of pumping Liverpool's tires, talking about how they were going to, end this era of Manchester City. And, you can believe the hype a little bit sometimes. No, I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
And you're just there going, But COVID's thrown up so many weird spins in the world. It's just like, there's no home advantage anymore for anybody. The big teams are just seemingly, everybody is inconsistent. So everybody can beat everybody except for Sheffield United right now. So it's
last year they were having a ripper.
Superb, yeah. I'm worried that he's going to get sacked.
Yeah, I kind of like how I don't know. Obviously, like Liverpool being on top and winning, but I also kind of like seeing like, Southampton are there for the first time ever, and like I kind of enjoy how you shouldn't underestimate Wolves anymore. Or you shouldn't underestimate Aston Villa. You know what I mean? Like they're not just sort of like, I feel like back in the day it was like there was 7 or 8 teams that would just kind of constantly win, and we would obviously win a little bit less than those other ones. But yeah, like I like how there's new teams coming up and even Leeds doing a bit of damage on teams, and it seems maybe more like a well-rounded competition this year.
It does. It feels like there's a salary cap or something's gone on. It's like
yeah.
Don't know what's
That's it.
I'll read out to you the top 9 just for the people who are listening to this in the future, maybe, and going, what the hell are they talking about? Okay, so 8 games are gone. The only people who haven't played 8 games are Aston Villa, Man City, Man United, and Burnley. So all the small clubs. Number 1, Leicester City on 18 points. Number 2, Spurs on 17. 3, Liverpool also on 17. Southampton are in 4th position on 16 points. Chelsea are 5th on 15. Aston Villa, with 7 games played, not 8, are also on 15. Everton are on 13. Crystal Palace are on 13. And Wolves are on 13. So
yeah.
A lot of names not in that top 9.
Yeah, well, that's it. And yeah, I kind of have, I don't know about you, but I kind of have teams that I don't mind winning, like, you know, as long as they're not beating us. But I'm like a Crystal Palace or Wolves, I kind of like seeing them do well. Maybe it's just because I like a few of the players from God, or some of the former players as well. Jota has just, you know, been absolutely tearing up. He's, you know, talking about age, is like, I worked out he was my age the other day, and then I was like, no, he looks older than me. I kind of just assumed he was a bit older, but he's got a big career ahead of him, hopefully. Like I saw this thing today about the stats of like how long it took to get to 10 goals, is it? Or 7 goals? And I think it was 10 games for Jota and then 9 for Torres and Salah. So like, which of course, like, you know, he might just slow down, but yeah, it's kind of exciting at the moment, you know, especially when someone's like a new signing and they're just killing it. You're like, oh my God, they're going to be the next big.
They're going to be superstar.
Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit then about the actual game? Because we did go in a little bit interesting where everyone thought Jota was going to be the central, Firmino was going to be behind him, Salah right, Mane left, and then it became 4-2-4, and it was weird.
Yeah, looking at it, yeah, I actually saw it on. Have you got that FootMob app? Have you ever used that?
I have before. I think I used SofaScore as well. They show you like the average positions and stuff.
Yeah, everyone's got their own sort of thing, but that one I kind of enjoy, especially because, you know, when I was at sort of work and it was all happening. But then, yeah, I didn't see the lineup at the start of the game. I ended up just looking at it on my phone, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't see that coming. Because there was, you know, a lot of conversation around, you know, Firmino was going to start, obviously, or if Jota's sort of earned his spot there, which is still something I'm kind of undecided on, to be honest, because you kind of like, well, you know, he's doing so well and he's scoring so many goals, but I also like you know, how Klopp backs him in, and he's, you know, it's got a point in some of the plays that he sort of makes, but, you know, they were saying like, do you need a player that can do both of those things and score regularly as well as, you know, make those sort of plays? So yeah, but I definitely didn't see that one coming, and I don't know if it necessarily worked either. I don't know what you think about that.
No. It felt every time he's played 4-2-3-1, it's felt like the players are working out who's supposed to be standing where. And it ended up kind of being like 4-2-4 in regards to Jota was one winger, Mane was the other winger, and 2 central strikers were Firmino and Salah. And it was like, that's not kind of working.
Yeah.
It was very odd.
I wonder, like, saying, like, you know, I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like, I wonder if that was maybe the idea of it. Maybe that was a tactic. Maybe they wanted to confuse City, or I don't know. Can you even confuse City? Like, is that a thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are they around every possible sort of formation and what they look like? Or I don't know. I suppose it also feels like there's a few things sort of like, not teething because of new signings, but it's more just these injuries and sort of you're seeing little alterations in the squad. And I don't think I'll recover from that one for a long time. The Merseyside derby thing.
No,
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm sure you've complained about that many times.
Well, what did you make of Matip then? Because he just came back, and for first game, or it feels like a year and a half. What did you make of his performance?
I thought it was all right. I'm normally a big sort of fan of him, like long term. I like the way he plays. I like his size as well. He seems like, defenders should be big back there, even though like Robertson feels like a little tacker. Still gets the bloody job done though. But yeah, it feels good having a bit of that stock, especially when he was, standing next to Van Dijk, and we looked really strong at the back. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think we're going to end up leaning on Gomez more though throughout the season as far as that key centre back role. And maybe it's not the worst thing for him to sort of get more of a look in the squad over the next year. Just trying to sugarcoat the Van Dijk situation. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you make of his performance?
I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. His passing was shit. Like, it was just, he tried way too many, and he's always tried this. He's always tried this long through ball style pass across the ground to a striker, and it just inevitably gets cut out by somebody, and it just doesn't work. Like, I do wish he would just be a little bit more simple and keep it, just pass it sideways. And like, you don't need to. The long ball, maybe try that. And Gomez tried it and failed a few times. He tried it a couple of times and failed. The passing from the back was awful.
Isn't that funny how it's almost like a golden rule? Like when I was growing up, it was my dream to be the goalkeeper for Liverpool. It didn't work out, so I had to settle for radio.
Natural transition.
Yeah, that's it. But I remember like sort of like trying. I had one sort of look into the state team here, and then that was in under 15s, and then I did, I kind of stopped like around 17. I kind of lost the love for it. Just liked watching it on the couch a bit more. But I
Thanks
remember,
for the plug,
like,
by the way, that's appreciated that.
Yeah. And that's my first mention of I work in commercial radio, so I'm familiar with brand mentions. So I'm just
plugged.
Like 3 an hour. There's normally the going rate. Yeah, I remember thinking at the time, like, there were some players that you were like, oh, they're good because they can do really great tricks, or they're really good at free kicks or whatever. But they were never the guys who were like getting call-ups for the national team, like under 16s for Australia or whatever. Most of the time, it was those guys that like had not much flair, but they just did the small stuff very well, which I think is, really, you can have a bit of flair, like you can be a Firmino, but you can, they also all do the basics really, really well. So, and especially with defending, sometimes you don't want to see people fluffing about. You don't want to see, like that time Allison tried to like take someone on in his like 4th game. Do you remember that? He hasn't done it since.
It was against Leicester as well again. Like,
that's right. He just got punished. But like, I just kind of like watching people do simple stuff well.
Me too.
And I think they are the best players, really.
And Gini was especially that against City. He gave the ball away, I think, 2 times, which people seem to have latched onto a lot. But apart from that, the amount of times he shielded the ball, passed it off, recycled so well. He did it brilliantly in that game. And it's hard to focus on him because his play is so boring, but it's so effective and so necessary at the same time.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Like, when you sort of get a bit older and you watch things a bit, the sort of deeper meaning behind the game, you realize it's not just all about your Torres is just banging in volleys from outside the 18-yard box. Like, there's a lot more sort of to it. And I think there's a lot of those sort of players that are just workhorses in the squad. Such depth in the team as well, really. It is kind of impressive how you can bring someone in who hasn't played for like the majority of the season, then they kind of expected to just clip in well, because I suppose they get paid enough and it is their job. But it is, a lot of the time you see that in teams, and I suppose people can be off the situation if they're not getting enough time on the field, and it seems like that's not really a problem at Liverpool. There must be like such a great culture there.
It goes down to training. Klopp's always said training, but it does bring us to our next point, is that Trent is now injured for 4 weeks. So 2 of those, thank God, are international shitey break. So if he's at least we don't have to worry about him getting an ACL tear on the international break. But then there's 2 weeks we've got to think about. I haven't even looked at what the schedule's like. But Nico Williams going to come in. He's had a shaky start to the season. But then there's also Fabinho, who could play right back, which opens up the space for Thiago, who should hopefully be back. What do you prefer, a specialist right back in Nico playing, or a Fabinho coming in who doesn't offer the same kind of flair, but probably a lot more sound defensively?
I'd probably, if I was making the call, I'd bring Fabinho's back in there. Just bring him in, especially because almost just interesting to see it as well. Because I know he's played centre back before as well. And
he's played right back for us actually a couple of times too.
Yeah, and moved around. So yeah, I mean, I think I'd prefer that. And I mean, I'm just dying to see Thiago back in the squad after that first game, and everyone's minds were blown, and they were looking at the stats, and it was impressive to watch, obviously, but then almost more impressive when you see it on paper. You're like, oh. Did you see that meme that was going around with the guys? There's that dude like kneading the pizza dough, and he's like not even looking, and he's just like throwing the pizzas across the room, and then there's this guy like catching it like 5 meters away, and he's like not even looking, and he's like blindly flinging the pizzas left and right, and this meme saying like Thiago like feeding in crosses to Salah and Mane.
I didn't see that, but it's so very apt, yeah.
Yeah, so like just like not even looking and getting him perfect every time, but. Yeah, I'm just kind of keen to get him back in, which he also feels like, it's like obviously we've, lost a lot through injury already this season, but I mean, himself included, but he's that kind of piece that we haven't really seen much of yet. So, and when it's been there, it's been exciting. So I'd love to get him back in.
Right now with the current squad, because we've changed the squad so much, what would be, without Virgil van Dijk, assume everyone else is fit, what would be your starting 11?
If everyone else was fit, obviously Trent right back. Then in the middle, I'd probably, at the moment, I mean, maybe I would have Fabinho. I mean, undecided on Matip and Fabinho. And then you'd have, obviously, Gomez centre-back, Robertson as your left-back there, Alisson. I think Adrian. No,
yeah.
I think
Quivine Kelleher.
Yeah. I'm sort of, mate. I almost want to see this new front three just for 2 or 3 games. I don't have anything against Firmino, and I really love him, obviously, but. I would be interested to see what it kind of looks like, what it plays out as, You're
not alone in that thought at all. So yeah. It's totally respectable.
And I don't want it to be like,
Firmino sucks.
Rip posters out, I just want to see what that's like.
Yeah.
And then obviously you'd want Thiago in the middle there, and I mean, I think Genie's great. I'd have Genie in there as well. Hendo.
That's it.
And that's it. Yeah. I mean, you kind of run out of options quickly, don't you? You kind of
The only one I'll change from that, potentially, is because I think when Thiago plays, it frees up Hendo to be more of the box-to-box, number 8. I would love to see Shaqiri play 10 more instead of Genie. Because because he actually holds that midfield, middle area. Unlike Firmino playing that strange 4-2-3-1 thing where he becomes a striker. I would much prefer Shaqiri playing 10, Hendo, and Thiago.
Yeah.
And I just think that would be an amazing middle three. Fabinho at centre-back or right-back, I don't really care. But he has to play as well because I love the guy.
I mean, Shaq can do it all. Hey, he's on my little Liverpool group chat. It's Big Shaq is the name of it. Obviously there's a few Shaqiri fans in the house.
Man's not hot.
But when you when you're watching and there's that whole, I mean, I know Origi, like a lot of people complain about his positioning and stuff, and he's never not going to be an icon after all those last minute goals that saved it, the Newcastle game, the derby, the final, the semi-final, and I'm a big fan of him. I can't really work out if it's for the sort of meme side of it or just the fact that he's kind of like this hero character. And he also, I always bring him on late when I'm playing FIFA, and he always is very consistent, even though his rating's not that great. He always scores me. But I kind of love him. But I would like to see a few more of those players getting thrown in because they can do it. Like some of the stuff you see, like I think the derby where we just towed up Everton, that real spicy one in like December last year. Wasn't that great seeing Shaq score and seeing that touch from Origi when do you remember that cross came from behind him and he kind of killed it with his left foot and then smashed him with his right. And it was
so good.
Yeah, like you kind of forget these guys who are like
that was a Lovren assist too, I think.
Yeah. God rest his soul. These sort of I suppose they're seen as our B team or whatever, but you kind of forget they're like better than probably most of the Premier League. But we're just lucky enough to have them whenever the main players are injured.
I was actually calling for Origi to come on the end of the Man City game because
just mix it up.
He's got a shot on him. Imagine just him on the edge of the box somewhere and just having a bang. Because Edison, I think, was having a shit game, to be honest. So needed somebody to have a
bang. Just much like Fabinho in the game when he tapped his wrist. That was an absolute firecracker. That was probably one of my favourite games as far as City Liverpool go. Only compared to the big one on the anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. Remember, and Coutinho managed to sneak that one in last minute.
So good.
Oh God, that was when I really thought I was like, we won it. I think a lot of people did.
I referred to that a lot because I was at Cheers Bar. And
wow,
my God, when that one went in and the whole place got showered in beer, it was crazy. It was, and there's a really good video on YouTube. If you just type in like Liverpool, Man City, Cheers Bar, 13-14 or something like that.
That's wicked.
A guy made like a full cinematic video of it.
Is that the one that Liverpool, and it's like everyone loses their mind or something? It's like Liverpool win, everyone loses their mind.
I'm not sure.
That's a great one. If you look up, it's like Man City, Liverpool, and I always type in everyone loses their mind. And it's just one of those guys, it's just like a fan video, but it's got like different footage of, people around the world watching this Liverpool game.
Losing their mind.
And then it's funny because it's just one shot of a guy in a Man City shirt, and it clearly is probably the guy who made the video because he's like, "Oh no!" every time, and it's like so like mocked up and shit. But all the Liverpool fans like going nuts. I was at Cheers Bar for when the last game of the season when we were just so close, and because City were playing Brighton at the same time. Remember? And we won the game pretty comfortably, but we're like, City are going to win, obviously. But remember, there was like 2 minutes there where Brighton had scored first, and everyone started screaming, and I was kind of watching, and I was like, what happened? Like, it was just in the middle of play, and then we like kind of turned around to this smaller screen at the back of Cheers Bar and realised Brighton were 1-0 up. And I remember I shouted like all these people drinks at the bar, like, and there was just things just flying around everywhere. And then I think they equalised within like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and then they scored another one, and another, and another, and another.
Yeah, that was depressing. Thanks for that.
We got him in there.
Let's pop a few Prozac now. Appreciate that. That's fantastic. Jesus. I'll talk to you about the return fixtures, 22nd at 2 a.m. Sydney time, which is 1:30 a.m. your time.
Yeah.
Bit shit, but it's Sunday morning, so at least you get to watch it.
Yeah, that's easy.
Leicester City at Anfield.
Yeah.
That's the return game. Then midweek is Atalanta at Anfield. Then Brighton away on 2 days later or 3 days later. Then Ajax at home at Anfield. Then Wolves at home at Anfield. So the 5 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 games following the return. 4 of them are at Anfield. The one away is Brighton. So, and they're against tough teams: Ajax, Wolves, Leicester City, Atalanta. So it's going to be a really strenuous, tough. But at least you don't have to travel. Except for Brighton, which in England terms is like the other end of the earth. So, but it's should be an interesting return. It'll be an interesting season to say the least. I mean,
that's it. And I mean, like when you look at it's funny. You kind of look at some of those games and you go, "No, we've got them." Like sometimes I have this sort of blind optimism of the team, especially when you're looking at it. You kind of Leicester for me on paper. I'm thinking Leicester in December last year, and how joyous that was.
Yeah.
with Trent's Mbappe celebration, and we were just, we absolutely claimed them. Atalanta, I was weirdly nervous before that one, but then, now I'm thinking 5-0. I mean, you know, it should be sweet. But Wolves, I always find scary just because, I mean, they beat City twice last year, and Traore is just like a beast among men who supposedly doesn't do weights. Have you heard that?
Who?
Adama Traore. Apparently, he doesn't do weight training for Wolves, and he's probably like
Botox or something. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, he's like Akinfenwa. Like he's just muscle. He's just, you know. I'd love to see him play for Liverpool. I mean, I don't even know if he can fit into the squad well, but he's just one of those guys that I'm just like, I love watching him play.
Just to buy the shirt, that'll be great.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. My gut says clean sweep will be right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of games, and I know there's been a bit of congestion with the games at the moment. And I mean, also, I think everything's out the window after what happened with Villa. I don't know. Do you have any theories on that? That's probably been talked about a lot on the podcast. But
I've got no theories. I think it was just a shit game, shit night, and we needed it. Basically, wake up call.
Rather than than in the last sort of 8 games. But like, yeah, I was actually, I couldn't watch the game because I was actually out in the Flinders Ranges, so I was out of. And I remember, tell me about it. And then I came back in, and a text came through from my dad and said, "Whatever you do, don't watch the Liverpool game." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I like checked the score first, and I was like, "Is this a joke?" Like, I kept refreshing my phone, and I was like looking up different websites, and I was like, "It's just beyond me." It took me weeks to work that out.
That's
I know
weird, yeah.
And everyone's like, just deflections. And obviously, you can't blame everything on Adrian as well. But it looked like it was just a bad day at the office.
It was a crazy
real
one,
bad
man. Hey, look, Liam, I've kept you for 40 minutes now. It's been an absolute pleasure knowing that you've been up since 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. on a normal working day, and you got to do it again. So it's probably past your bedtime now at 5 p.m. I just want to thank you so much for jumping on the couch, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we have to do it again more often, please.
Yeah, mate, anytime. I'd always love a chat. It's also just good to speak to some Liverpool fans because
Exactly.
I've only got one mate, one of my good mates who's also shares the love, but my best friend is an Everton fan, which is really shit.
I've got a lot of Man United friends, and Everton friends. It's painful.
Right. But yeah, no, anytime. And I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Nice one. So if anyone wants to follow Liam, especially, like, you're pretty big on Instagram mostly, right? And
Instagram's my main. I don't actually have Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok. So yes, Instagram would be the main one.
Sounds like it. So you just have to type in Liam Stapleton, to be honest, into Instagram, and then you'll find Liam and Ben as well as part of the show. And before we started, I was listening to your podcast on the website. I went to Liam and Ben 919, is it?
Nova 919, Ben and Liam, yeah.
You just did a funny ass Donald Trump impression. I was laughing my head off just as you were popping on. So
hey, man, it's also hard getting excited about Liverpool games when the majority of people are like, "That's not Crows or Port in the AFL."
Yeah.
So I don't get to talk about it too much on the radio.
Mate.
Yeah,
we'll get you on often then, so you can unleash your
your
fandom. Thanks, buddy. It's been a huge pleasure. Thank you so much. And everyone out there has been listening. I hope you have a very good day or night, and goodbye.
Lovely cushion header. But Gerrard!